Remembering tiny details makes the biggest difference when you're building a sense of connection and rapport with someone. We all know how it feels when someone recalls everyone else's names but not ours. On the other hand, you can enable people to feel really understood and valued by you if they briefly mention some detail and you actually remember it, even weeks later.
So you were telling me way back on the first session, or you mentioned a woman called Joy at work who was being a bit over-controlling. Is that still an issue for you?
Oh gosh, you've got a good memory. Forgot that I mentioned her, but no, things are a bit more relaxed now. I think she was under a load of pressure herself. But yeah, things are better now.
Okay.
When listening to a client, it's a good idea to just file away as much detail as possible to use later. When you feed back the minutiae of a person's life, as well as, of course, keeping the big picture in mind, then you convey a sense of caring. You can also pick up a throwaway line from a client and use it as a transferable resource weeks later because you know it will appeal to the client and help them feel you listen to and understand them. So if this client had mentioned in passing that they like to paint pictures, Mark could, weeks later, and if it was relevant, say something like,
And I suppose in a way, building a relationship is a bit like painting a picture in that you have to take it one step at a time. You have to build up the colours gradually and build up the texture and get the balance right and everything. Maybe I'm stretching the analogy a bit too far there.
No, actually it makes sense. I suppose most of the time I just feel the need to rush into things, but it is like a picture. You have to build it up bit by bit until it comes to a whole, and the whole thing fits together. So yeah, and I do love to paint.
Mark has brought up quite deliberately something to which the client can relate. A passing detail they'd mentioned weeks before has been used as a metaphor that connects deeply with them. He could have used an analogy of some other kind, for example that of relationships being like computer programs, but unless his client had expressed a particular interest in computing, this would have been a blind analogy rather than one more likely to appeal. It can also be a good idea not to have even seemed to have retained the tiny mentioned detail, not really commenting on it when it's expressed, but then bringing it up later. Another thing you can do is memorize people's routines if they've told you about them. Again, this shows you've been paying deep attention and can facilitate a wonderful sense of rapport.
Okay, so you were telling me that if I've got this right, you get up at 7:30. First thing you do is go for a jog in the park or by the sea. Then you get home and you have a shower. Then you have coffee, but no breakfast. And at this point, you haven't smoked at all. And then you go to work. And then you don't smoke. You don't have the first cigarette until the very first break, mid-morning at work. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, and it's weird. I just don't feel the need until then.
Okay.
By feeding back the routine the client has already spoken about, Mark can refresh his own memory, check he's got the details right, and build rapport by demonstrating listening all at the same time. Dropping in accurate details from the client's life, especially if they've only mentioned them once, is the magic potion of rapport. It gives them a sense of being understood at the same time as helping you understand. The kinds of detail you can use include names of partners, family members, colleagues, friends, significant people. Each one you memorize will provide you with an extra brick in building rapport. Places, where they went on holiday, where they grew up, where they met people who were important to them. And you don't have to ask them these details, but you can remember them if they mention them. Facts, for example, if you're seeing a smoker, remember if they've quit smoking before and how long they've stayed free, how old people are in their life, what they've told you about what people do or have said. Interests, likes and dislikes. And incidentals about the therapy sessions themselves. It may seem trivial to say, "It was raining so hard last week when you were here. I hope you didn't get too wet after our session." But this also gives them a sense that you remember them in the context of your work and life, and that they are important enough to recall. In summary, using what might seem like superficial trivia can help you build truly deep rapport with your clients. People need to have a sense that the minute detail of their life is respected and valued. It provides a powerful antidote to the deadening sense of insignificance and unimportance that blights so many lives, and it gives people a sense that they matter.